So this truly is a work in progress for this third task that I've had you folks working on Grandma's Chair. And I thought I'd share with you where I am at so far. I've had a lot of help on this with some students in third period. So thank you for that. I did want to touch upon what's going on with my design. This is not the only design that's out there. I do have one group that is doing rack and pinion and another group that is doing lead screw, because in the task description we're changing rotary motion, which we get as an input from our motors, into linear motion, which is motion in a line. And I'm achieving that on this design with chain and sprocket. So I did want to talk a bit about what I have up here for Grandma's Chair. You can see that there is a bunch of wires coming off it right now. Somehow I have to figure out how to plug these all into my Cortex. And I'm thinking, since I can kind of get them all up there, looking at this, I might turn my push button around so that all the wires are sticking up, because I think on this top edge up here I could put my Cortex up there and not have so many issues with the wires. So I'm looking ahead to that. But what I do have here on Granny's Chair that I have bolted up to my chain, I do have my two limit switches. This is what's going to turn off the motor when it gets to either the first floor or the second floor. And then I have my push button that Grandma's going to push to get started. So when I go to wire this up, I'm probably going to use motor port 1. I got my motor. If I drag my wire over from the back there, my motor is on the back. You can just barely see the gold screw right there. If I turn that sprocket, you can hear the motor turn. So I have the motor behind this sprocket. I've used the same gear ratio for this this driven sprocket here. And the only purpose of this idler sprocket was there's a little bit of weight on this contraption that I've created for Grandma's Chair. And I wanted to be able to increase the chain tension, so I put another bearing back here and then just an idler sprocket. Now, if you can see past all these wires to my trigger switch, you can hear it click. What I want that to do is, as Grandma's Chair is coming down, I have this stop set up here as a spacer. As the motor is running, it's going to do an Intel Touch stop motor. So think about when we were doing the spinning sign, we did push a button, we did start a motor, and then we did Intel Touch with a trigger switch and stop a motor. And that's what would happen. This trigger switch would run into the stop and the motor would stop running. And then the idea is Grandma's going to push the button again to go upstairs. The motor's going to run in the opposite direction and click, hits that stop and stop. So I would have Intel bump, start motor, whatever value you use to start the motor, Intel Touch, stop motor. Then I would copy that. I go Intel bump, press the switch, start motor in reverse, Intel Touch, stop motor. And these can go in between that command that is an Intel repeat forever, if you remember that from the spinning sign. So I haven't gotten to this point yet. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to mount my Cortex up on the top of my stand here. So I actually have this standing up. You see, here's my hand's down on the table here. I have this standing up to emulate my 30-degree angle from the assignment. And I'm going to mount the Cortex up here on top, because I think all of my digital sensors are going to reach the top, especially if I turn this push button around. They'll all reach up there, they'll plug in okay. The cord length should be enough that they'll have a range to go up and down. And then also my motor here in the back should be able to reach up to my Cortex on this top edge here. So all I really need to do at this point is put the Cortex on, get the button flipped around, and get everything wired into it. Then it's going to be ready to program. So I have come quite a ways on this. I'll look at probably wrapping this up next time, hopefully, or at least the construction of it. So I might have a couple more class periods of work for this, which is good because that still gives us room to finish off the trimester and have time to spend a day on cleanup in all classes. So I hope this kind of gives you one example. Remember, several different examples you can do, just like there were 3 different drivetrains that you could do with the drag racer. There are different types of drivetrains that you can do for Granny's chair. You can do chain drive, you can do lead screw, you can do rack and pinion. I welcome any of those ideas. I do like using these stops for the limit switches to hit. I think that's going to work out really well. I think the coating of this is going to look real good. It's going to look a lot like the spinning sign. Pretty much it's the spinning sign copied and pasted a second time from that activity. So you can use the spinning sign as a template if you've had good experience with that. So until next time, good luck.